Hey guys, just a quick rant here. I'm looking snazzy today. God guys got the polo going on. I thought I dress up for this day. We're celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. I got the day off tomorrow, early day. Um, Worked the weekend shift, so they gave us Sunday off. Um, anyway, this is kind of like a history rant about this country, like America, like just kind of like going over what I'm seeing, like some patterns that I'm seeing in right now in this life, things that give you guys some historical context, some things that I've noticed going on right now. So this guy, dude, I'm a huge fan of Martin Luther King. Um, let's see. He only lived to be 39 years old, man. He was a young dude. That's almost like 10 years older than me, and I feel like I'm super young. Basically, like him and Malcolm X, they lived the same uh, length of years. Malcolm X was another Black History Month dude. He went about it the wrong way though, and I'll get into that in the video. Like they both were trying to get civil rights done, but what I'm going to show you in this rant video is that Martin Luther King Jr. he did it the right way under certain conditions. He did it the right way, and under vast majority of conditions is how we should approach the things that are going on right now in our society. So like right now we have let's just list both sides of the aisle's complaints. So we have uh, social problems, social inequality on one hand, perceived social inequality, and on the other hand, we have like a loss of our values and culture. And I'm going to show you that like this is nothing new in society, and I'm very optimistic about the future, the long term future for sure. Like we might have to do some I don't know. I'll get into that at the end of the video. Like, let me just go through my tabs here. Um, so, real quick about Martin Luther King Jr. He advanced civil rights through non. This is all on Wikipedia, guys. I get a lot of my sources from Wiki. It's just easy. Um, MLK, he advanced civil rights through nonviolence, civil disobedience, inspired by his Christian beliefs and nonviolent activism of Mahatma Gandhi, who was a Hindi. Um, I think he was atheist. I'm not sure exactly. I want to say he was agnostic. He was the son of an early civil rights activist and minister, Martin Luther King Jr., which Gandhi prayed all the time, but for some reason I remember that he was an agnostic. I'll have to look that up. Um, but here's a thread I'm getting at. There's a common thread in our society, guys. It's not the Western society, even though it primarily dominates the Western hemisphere. It's popped up in history in the Middle East, rarely, but I'll show you that it's like a God's hidden hand on our nation, and I'll show you our not just our nation, but on the world, and I'll show you the root, the history of why MLK and Gandhi were successful. Okay, it goes back to like human nature and God's nature. So slavery, the Civil War, the American Civil War, it was fought to free the oppressed. In this case, it was African American slaves. They were brought from Africa, obviously, and it was fueled primarily from white abolitionists. There was a lot of black abolitionists, but they got a lot of their power from wealthy white Northerners who were sympathetic to their cause, because there wasn't a lot of sympathy in the South. I'm from the South, but the abolitionists, through advocating the end of slavery, were very active in the decades leading up to the Civil War. They traced their philosophical roots back to the Puritans. Okay, the Puritans were like key word, Puritans. So like this is a Christian sect. Okay, and I'll show you what's interesting about it. So this is the Wikipedia for the let me scroll to the top. The English Civil War, okay, was actually a series of civil wars. All right. Now the difference between peaceful protests and civil war is that we're not gonna have a civil war, guys. Like, don't worry about that. But I don't see that happening. But basically, like like we haven't even done the peaceful protests actually like legitimately peacefully protesting. Like every time there's a civil war, there's always like protests that happen, and we just haven't really seen like the height of the protests yet. So it's actually to be determined. But I don't think we're gonna have a civil war, but we are gonna have some more protests, like 100%. Something's gonna kick it off, and basically it's, I mean, to sum it up, bro, it's the first side to lose their cool, and right now it's been the side of the Black Lives Matter people. They've been losing their cool, and you know, I'm on the side of the Republicans. I mean, we lost our cool on the Capitol riots. We should not have gone inside of the building. Like, and so like thank God like nothing happened because of that, because that could have ended the nation, bro. Like really right there. Um, but let me get back to my highlighted deal here. So the historical interpretation, bro, the root causes of the English Civil War was from the Whigs. Okay, like they're a political movement that was active in our country's history for like 40 years. Okay, they became the Republican Party, which freed the slaves and which helped do the civil liberties for MLK's movement. Okay, MLK can trace his movement back to the Whigs. Gandhi, we'll get into Gandhi later, but Gandhi's pulling it from somewhere else. But it's a natural. Well, it's not actually natural, bro. It's not natural, but he was Gandhi was very observant. I will say that. But basically, like the English Civil War was a prototype of the American Civil War. Okay, it was pulled from the Whig ideology, okay, which was a Puritan ideology, okay. It was the Christian sect promoting, like peace and love and happiness. They didn't really have a lot for guns. They didn't like having guns, but that happened later. Like when they started, they loved their guns. As you can see, they had a civil war, but there was a lot more. I guess you could say like the Civil War, like they had factions that were already ready to go to war. Like they had battle plans drawn up. There was like, militias that were ready to call. We don't have that right now. Like right now, like I have no idea what to do. Like if something happens, like I'm just gonna sit around and try to like hold out or wait to see what happens before like I even know where to go. Like I mean, not that that's gonna happen, but just to tell you, like people were way more prepared back in the day. Like we're really not that prepared, but we don't have to be prepared, but we just have to be like we had to be prepared to be peacefully getting beat up, basically, like if it really comes to this. And it's not by the government, bro. Like that's the difference, bro. Like these people, the slaves were fighting the government. Like Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting the government. Gandhi was fighting the government. Like, is my side on the Republicans? Are we fighting the government, bro, for civil rights? Like, no, like we're not. Like, we're trying to hold it down, basically. And I'm gonna get into why we're trying to hold down something that I feel like is good, because we have a system of government that is still functioning, although it's hurt a little bit. But like we are in the process of figuring out the next stage of American values. Okay, like a value, we have to give concessions to any side that feels like they need to. Like, I mean, I don't know why I'm speaking on behalf of like all America, but I feel like I'm coming across like that. But basically, let me show you the historical precedents. Like that was weird to say. A lot of Puritanism, a lot of Whigs became the Republican Party. Okay, I'm not saying that we're always the right ones, but we have a good history. Okay, the Democrats have Andrew Jackson, which I like him, but that's a long time ago. We got JFK too. I like JFK, and I do like Bill Clinton. I'll be honest with you, I do like Bill Clinton. So the Democrats do have some people. Like it's actually like it's very nice. But all right, so a little bit history lesson here. Like the freed blacks, they wanted to go back to Liberia. Either they were coerced to going back to Liberia, or they wanted to go. I think it was a mixture. But they were given the opportunity. They went home. They went back to Africa. What's interesting here, okay, is it was the blacks from America, African Americans that were discriminating against the blacks from Africa. And that's really what this country, bro, like Liberia, it was the same exact system of government we have here in America, bro. It was like the African America, like the U.S. of Africa, and they took everything from us, bro. They took our laws, all the statutes, like the Constitution was like, I'm pretty sure it was the same. The way I'm reading it here, it was like a carbon copy. Like they just copied it and moved over, and they took some land. Okay, these are black people. Okay, like black, like dark skin. And let me tell you why they fell. Here, like this is the last president of Liberia. Okay, it says that they had a peaceful demonstration in Monrovia. They were gonna go peacefully demonstrate, about 2,000 of them, and then on their way to go storm the Capitol building, they were met by 10,000 other black people, and they went into fighting. Like, they killed each other, and this gave a lot of instability. And then an opportunist in the military seized control, like a staff sergeant, like, which is ridiculous to think of. A master sergeant, a damn master sergeant, bro. That's like a E. Oh shoot, remember from Army days. It's like an E7. No, E8. That's an E8. And it's been a while. And damn. Where was I going with that? Anyway, basically, yeah. He took over the government. They've been downhill from there, like 90% economic collapse, like starvation, mass instability. Like we could see that here in this country if we fall to racism. See what I'm saying? Like it's totally historically plausible. They were rich, guys. Liberia was actually rich. Like they had all the money for a time, and the black people that came over, the president was trying to give concessions. Anyway, other black people thought they were racist. Like I don't know how that makes sense, but that's what they were thinking. So the devil's been doing this stuff a long time, like trying to get people to be racist. Gandhi pulled, he wanted to have Pakistan join India too, but the Pakistanis didn't want it. They didn't want to peacefully integrate into India, so they had to split it. So, and for the British to actually concede this without killing them, I mean, he got assassinated, but we don't know if it was the British, but they conceded it. Like normally, like an empire in history would be like no, and kill everybody, or try to. The British just really they were trying to help, like they saw that they weren't wanted, and they historically they granted independence. So, all right, moving on to the American Revolution, guys, like another thing. So I'm trying to get a thread here. So these are all really big historical events. Where's my text wall? All right. Basically, the historians of the, 1800s, 1900s, they said that Christianity was the cause of the establishment of the revolution, like the American Revolution. You can read this highlighted text here. It says that Kidd argues that religious disestablishment, belief in God as a source of human rights, and shared convictions about sin, virtue, and divine providence work together to unite rationalists and evangelicals, and thus encourage a large proportion of Americans to fight for independence from the empire. So the evangelicals and the atheists in this country have had a historical alliance. I mean, think about it. Thomas Jefferson was like the most skeptical dude. I mean, he like rewrote the Bible, and yet I feel like he was a Christian because of his actions. That he was like a righteous Christian-leaning agnostic. I mean, so like, do I think he was saved? Yeah, I think he was saved, but like that's another argument. But that's not for this topic. But like Americans came together. Like we literally came together under rational thinking, guys. Like, and it was that all men are equal. Like it wasn't that Jesus is God. It wasn't Muhammad and Allah. Like, it wasn't religiosity that really united us, guys. It was the values from the Bible that the religious practicing evangelicals valued highly, that literally meshed with the same values that the atheists had, and then we were able to come together under agreement that, like, yeah, all men are created equal. God does not like slavery, guys. Like, it's all over the Bible. Cyrus abolished. He freed the captives. Like, it's Cyrus Cylinder. It's an archaeology. It's an archaeological find. Um, Moses freed the slaves. God sent Moses to free the Israelites were slaves for 400 years, and God freed the slaves. Like, God does not like slavery or political injustice, but He will tolerate it for a time as like a test. Like, we gotta see this good versus evil play out. So, like, we're gonna have people get thrown in prison. I'll just go over here real quick. Jesus told the apostles, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. Were these guys armed when they went out among the wolves? He said, keep no bag for the journey, or extra shirt, or sandals, or staff. Like, they couldn't have a weapon, for the worker is worth his keep. And these guys literally went house to house and preached the gospel, like doorstep, like the Mormons, dude. I mean, basically like the Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, bro. Like, that's where they're getting it from. And I don't really agree with that stuff, but is it biblical? Yeah, of course it's biblical. Like, that's where they're getting it from. Like, do you have to do that? No, but that is a good, like, it's a good way to evangelize. But right now we have the internet, so we don't have to do that. Basically, it's good practice, I guess. Basically, like, he sent people out to potentially die. None of them died because they had a destiny to be apostles, except for one, Judas. And this is the text wall for the chapter. He sent them out accompanying with signs, wonders, and miracles, and preach the gospel. Don't worry about anything. You're not gonna die. Don't be afraid. This is actually for us, guys. Like, do not be afraid about those who can kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Instead, fear the one who can destroy both the soul and body in hell. Like, where are the slave masters right now that were persecuting slaves? Like, they're in hell right now. Like, they might be judged if they repent in hell. I don't know. Like, that's another debate. But right now they're getting punished. So, like, God is a judge. Like, He's allowing evil to happen so He can judge evil, because that's part of His character. But if we all acted good, He wouldn't have to do that, so it wouldn't matter. But, like, that's where we are right now. So getting back to the American Revolution, MLK would have been killed if this happened in China. Like, I mean, they beat up the Hong Kong protesters, threw them in prison, like, and nothing happened. Like, being able to protest and not get massacred is literally unique to Christian civilization, because God has brainwashed us or written us with His moral code in our hearts, because we've been indoctrinated by the Bible from day one, guys. Like, that's why we have successful society, because of the Bible. I mean, even if you're an atheist, you're stewed in morality. But this guy was saying that religion denied a critical role, but it was the same guy that was saying it was the role that challenged it. So Wikipedia acting like Wikipedia again, and going against itself. But he said that it was because it was old and new lights, which I look up, and it's all religious. So like, yeah, like, basically, like, Wikipedia is saying that, like, the American Revolution was because of God, like 100%, like, one nation under God. It was the primary motivating factor to cause a war. And sometimes we have a season of war when God will set up the chess pieces right now that ain't the time, bro. We already have like the promised land. We don't need to go to war against anybody. Like we don't need to like, you know, fight for any civil rights right now. I mean, we have all our civil rights. I'm gonna get to the BLM guys right here. So, like this is the Black Lives Matter people. I've never actually like been to the website before, but I've heard about it. I've seen it on YouTube. So people have shown it on YouTube. So I went over here and they have their demands. I just typed it in Google and found it. They want to ban Trump from political office. Okay. They want to expel Republican members of Congress who attempted to overturn the election. Okay. So like all of them. Launch a full investigation into the ties between white supremacy and the Capitol Police. So like racism. I don't see anything about Jesus in here, guys. Like it's all defund the police. Like Paul. He was big on government enforcers of the law. Like if the law, you don't just mindlessly follow the government, guys. Like it's if the government is protecting your property rights, your civil liberties, they're the good guys, okay? And if they aren't, they're the bad guys. But you just peacefully protest the government like we had to do for the MLK civil rights, Gandhi's independence for India. Like whenever it's people versus the government, like a civil war is the last thing you want, guys. Like we're gonna literally lose our country if that happens. Like, so, the army will blow us up, bro. Like they'll start to, they don't even have to roll in the tanks. I mean, they might a little bit, but really they have the drones, bro. They'll turn this country into Afghanistan if a civil war happens, bro. Like it'll be like Liberia. It's perfect. It's a historical example, bro. Liberia, this place that we looked at earlier. And basically, I mean, they're saying that all the white people are killing all the black people, and primarily police officers. So you have one of two things: either everybody carries a gun, and we start to use like a social media, everybody police each other app that everybody trusts, which that is not going to go over well, or we stick with the system we have right now, and like just have like a really, I don't know, like a regulator for the police that the police trust, because they're not going to want that. I mean, they're doing in my opinion, they're doing a great job. Like they're doing too good of a job. I mean, honestly, like they let people do crazy things to them and they don't even fight back because they're trying to earn a paycheck to protect their family, and they're literally getting lit on fire. Like I saw this, look at that. Look at the juxtaposition between Black Lives Matter protests and the MLK protests. It's the government, a firefighter is spraying down an unarmed black person in the 60s, bro. Like they're setting dogs on unarmed protesters. And then I look at the Black Lives Matter people, bro. It's totally different. Like look at this. Like they're lighting people on fire, like, and burning stuff, dude. Like this is not okay. Like this is the complete opposite of Martin Luther King Jr. I typed in civil rights destruction for some reason there. But yeah, guys, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, sorry it was such a long video and it took me a while to get my thoughts out there, but this was it just kind of randomly happened to me today. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a Martin Luther King Jr. video. Why not? I feel like I could at least get some of it off my chest. But this is a good country, guys. Like we have everything we need here. Like we don't have to expand. We don't have to, we really just need to create thousands and millions of more jobs so we can feel comfortable bringing in the rest of the free world, bro. Because it's not just the West that is successful, bro. It's the Judeo-Christian atheist mindset, bro. Like that morality, that thinker of, you are a, human being and you have to protect your other humans because they are like made in God's image. You know what I mean? Like they are worthy of respect because they're a fellow man, and like love your neighbor as yourself. Like if you are really practicing that 100%, like you have no problem with God. Like God will save you when you die. Like I mean, I've heard of all kinds of testimonies about near death experiences where that has happened. What you have to worry about though is if you are just trying to gain political power through a violent protest movement in the name of equality and racism. I mean, even if you're like, a follower of Jesus Christ, like you might not go to hell, but you might lose out on some eternal reward. So like, there's still going to be consequences for, this kind of activity. Um, so I don't want to sound condescending, but like this is, and I haven't had any real skin in the game. I've just been working, but if it comes down to it, like I will go out there and get beat up for this. I mean, I was thinking about it today. Like I will literally, like if it happens in Dallas, I will freaking walk over there and just get beat up. And I don't know what that accomplishes though, but I guess I can preach while I do it. Maybe just look ridiculous, but I would do it. Yeah, 100%. Like, oh yeah, last thought that I had today was that if we're going to protest, we have a lot of incentive to keep the group small and keep all the people that we don't know or whatever out. So like if you have I think the days of massive protest movements are gone. Like what we saw in Liberia, I mean, in the capital, it's very similar. Like if it would have went violent, we probably could have lost the country. So, I mean, maybe we shouldn't do big protests anymore. Maybe we should have like representatives protest on our behalf that are willing to go out there and non-violently protest that we know are not plants. You know what I mean? Like we could have an FBI dude just straight up whack somebody in the face, or a CIA dude, or a Black Lives Matter dude pretending to be one of us, or it could work both ways. I mean, one of the BLM people could be protesting, and then a freaking KKK dude just pretends to be a supporter of BLM and throws a rock at a cop and starts a scene. You know what I mean? So like back then there wasn't a lot of testimony about plants. Like they didn't have this tactic. Like the other side didn't know to just start doing a plant. Like so this is actually a relatively new event. So maybe we're seeing a change where we don't really have to go out and protest a lot. We can do it on the internet. And so that's kind of why I'm putting out this thing a little bit, is that I'm like keyboard warrior. Yeah. So all right guys, but y'all have a blessed day. I'm gonna get some rest, so y'all take it easy. I try to get something out here pretty soon. I'm doing a study on right now it's um shoot, I just saw a little quick peek, bro. It's taking me like 6 hours to do this. But names of the scientists, their religion on Wikipedia, how much words are on their Wikipedia article, and how long they lived, and their reason for classifying their belief. So I'm trying to get like a database of things. This is for another video, but I got some content coming. I'm trying to get a mathematical model for history to kind of prove that the Bible, like if you are a believer, like you're gonna have a more successful life, at least live longer. But it's actually very interesting. Like it's not a big sample size; I only have like 50, but I'm really not finding a huge correlation on long life, at least among the scientists. It's not a big enough sample size, but the word count was pretty good. The atheists and the evangelists, they were pretty similar. Like they live like they had about the same amount of word count. It's not a complete study, like, and I'm gonna have to do some other stuff for it, but I'm really not happy with the results right now, to be honest. It's very like basically the only thing I can come up with right now is that if nobody knows what your religion is on Wikipedia, it's very likely that you haven't done anything you haven't done as much in your life as somebody who is spiritual or questioning their faith, or something like that. But I'm gonna let the video end. It's a totally different video. All right, guys. Peace out.